Welcome to Whores Talk Horror.
We're not really whores. We just like wordplay.
Hello, and welcome to Whores Talk Horror. I'm Sharon.
And I'm Melinda.
And today we are going to each have our tarot cards read by the lovely Tatiana, who, if you guys are past listeners, you might have heard our 3-part interview with her titled I See Dead People. So Tatiana, welcome back.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Thanks for coming. All right. So first, I just wanted to ask you, how did you get into tarot card reading?
My great-grandmother, she used to do tarot readings. She's from Spain. And she actually taught my grandmother. And then she tried teaching my mother, who was here before. But my mother didn't really get into it as much.
Okay.
And so then she just kind of like let it be. But what was interesting is that I didn't know anything about this until I just happened to be at a mall one day and saw some tarot decks there. And
They called to you?
yeah, they did. I was like, what is this? And actually I had gotten, it was called the Golden Deck. I had purchased those first, and for some reason they freaked me out. I was 12.
Okay, that's young. So you started doing tarot reading when you were young?
Yeah.
And did you start reading for yourself, or did you start reading for other people right away?
I started reading for myself at first. It took me a while. And when I got into it, that first deck that I got, I ended up returning them.
Okay.
Because just the energy in the deck itself was so overwhelming and too powerful for me at that age, at that time, that I couldn't even touch them. They would freak me out. I felt nauseous. I just didn't want to deal with them.
That's so interesting.
So I ended up being young, I ended up getting this other deck. It was called the Love Tarot deck.
Okay.
and that was like, and if anybody's starting out, I highly recommend that deck because it has your major arcanas, which are the first 22 cards of the deck, of the main tarot deck. Tarot deck has 72 cards. And so that one basically brings the major ones, which are the sun, the moon, the wheel of fortune, the Hierophant.
Death.
Yes, death, the devil, like those major ones that many people are more familiar with. And you can totally do a reading with just those major cards.
No, I was just going to say that my dad only uses those.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to learn the rest of the deck.
And to be honest, you don't really need the other ones unless you really want more detail, to be more specific. You can totally do a yes or no question with the major arcanas. You can do a yes or no question with the whole deck as well. What's interesting is that tarot, before even having the deck that we know of now with all the art and all the different, suits and stuff like that, they used to just be a regular plain deck. And if you think of it like that, you have, like I said, your swords, your coins, your cups, and your staffs. You have your hearts, your clubs, your spades, and your diamonds. The deck that I ended up having was the Love Tarot deck, which has your major arcanas. I started practicing with those from the age of 12 all the way to about maybe 16, 17 years old. And I'm not trying to give my age out, so don't ask how old I am now.
You're way younger than us, so it's okay.
With practicing on those, my grandmother and my mother actually saw that I was really getting into it and really connecting with the cards. I didn't know that there had been a generation deck that had been passed on from my great-grandmother to my grandmother to my mother.
Oh, wow.
And then to me.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I actually keep that deck separate from all my other decks. I don't ever really like, I try not to like really mess with them as much because it's just so much generational and power of
Like the energy from all of your ancestors, like probably like
consumed in
the cards. Yeah. So I can see you wouldn't really want to
have other people play with them or
exactly.
touch them.
Yeah, putting their energy into it. That makes sense.
And my grandmother, my mom's mother, would tell me that I should only have one deck. That people should only have one deck that you use. Many people feel differently. I feel that tarot decks are like people and personalities. Everybody's different, which is why I have different decks. When I do readings, I like to have people kind of go through them, feel them out, see what you feel comfortable with. I have a specific deck that is called the Deviant Moon deck. When I first got this deck, I was intrigued by it. However, it scared the shit out of me. Sorry, I don't know if I could say that.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We
Oh.
do all the time.
Have you listened to our podcast? We encourage swearing. But it's funny that you mentioned that one because I was looking at all these decks trying to figure out like which one I was attracted to, which one I want you to do the reading. And that's the one that I was like, there's just something about that deck. I do not want to pick that deck. That was the one that jumped out at me that I was like,
Yeah. So
okay.
So actually, I'm going to open this up so you can actually take a look at them, and you will probably see why. If anybody knows the deck, you know that the deck is very powerful. It's very graphical, and it's not for everyone. So it took me maybe 2 to 3 years for me to get comfortable with this deck.
Okay.
And the way that you do that is really, well, the way that I did that, I did some research too. You know, there's many different books. Just because your great grandmother and your mother, you know, read cards or whatever, doesn't mean that their method is going to work for you, right? So I wanted to go ahead and try different methods. I'm better understanding and getting to know my deck. Even though, you know, I have my own way, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like I'm reading them, whatever. But I tend to, when getting a new deck, is I take out a card a day. I look it over before I go to bed. I meditate on it. I put it under my pillow and try to really like get to know the artist, the meaning behind it, why they decided to do that specific art for that card, what they're trying to, the feeling that they're trying to give the reader, and the purpose behind it, that specific art.
I had no idea that people who did tarot readings had to be like that intimate with their cards. I think that's great. That's definitely something that we never did when we were in high school and we would read each other's tarot cards. You know, I never really felt that closeness, I guess, with my deck but that's really interesting.
Yeah, and to be honest, not many people really feel that way either. They're like, oh, I just like that deck because I like the art.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But that's probably what makes you a more powerful reader than most other people.
And that's the thing too, is that like now I've gotten to a point where I wasn't going to let this deck scare me like the last deck when I was 12.
Okay.
I refuse to let a deck of cards that I know how to read scare me away. So I really, really try to get to know it and understand it, and now we're friends.
And it's a very unassuming, I should describe, since this is a podcast, it's just in like a gray velvet bag. So it looks so innocent and unassuming, but for some reason, I was just like, there's something about that.
These are
that
cool.
So
they're very beautiful. Yeah, I love the artwork. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, they're very, very pretty. Some of the more graphic, darker ones, you'll see like why it can be. They're very psychological, I feel like. And people who are in tuned with, I feel like, more on the spiritual side.
This one kind of looks like Jigsaw from the Saw movie.
I feel that we tend to think a lot, right? We're very open-minded. We're very like imaginative. We use our intuition a lot. And so something like that, when you find a card or something or a deck that's very psychological, it can kind of mess with your psyche. So then when reading it can kind of be disturbing. So that was something for me, like I have a wild imagination. And I love Halloween.
Yes, as do we. Awesome.
And so we're intrigued by the darker side of things, right? Which is kind of one of the reasons why I was intrigued by this deck.
Yeah.
But when reading it, it was very eerie at the same time because it really was messing with my psyche, with the art and how dark it could be. But at the same time, there's some beautiful lightning cards in there.
They're very beautiful. I'm actually really going through these now, and we took some photos of these as I was going through them. So we will post them on our Instagram and other social media pages, so you guys can see these. I kind of think I want to go with this deck because I'm actually really, really drawn to the artwork. It reminds me a little bit of Tim Burton.
Yes.
So yeah, I think even though initially I was scared of this deck as well, I think I want this one for my reading.
Okay. I'm gonna keep that in mind because I still have other decks that you can take a look at and see how you feel about them. What was interesting is that this deck really freaked me out because it was a card that reminded me of me, because I have a picture of myself with Dancing with Fire, where I'm wearing an outfit almost very similar to that, which the card that I'm describing is a belly dancer. It's the 2 of coins. And they decided to use a belly dancer for the 2 of coins. It kind of resonated with me very well. And then before we go on, Mindy, is there a deck that you were attracted to the most?
Yes. Well, it's 2. They're 2 of my favorite colors, too. The red and purple.
All right.
Well, you can think about it.
But
while I get my... You can hold them.
You can hold them and look through them, too, if you want.
Yeah. Maybe one will speak to you more.
So something that I like to do, and a lot of these have already been reprogrammed and cleansed and so forth. So the last time I was here, I think I talked about the tarot deck that was found in that...
In the morgue that you used to live in?
House. And I had mentioned how I was going to cleanse them and reprogram them, but then when I touched them, I was just like, oh, I didn't even want to deal with them, right?
Yeah.
So the way that they say that the best way to cleanse them and quote unquote reprogram them from like energy, that's what I mean by reprogramming them, is through the energy that you receive from people holding them and like, different vibes and stuff like that, is you want to put each suit in order numerically, whatever, and then all the major arcanas, you want to do them numerical order, 1 through, or 0, because the Fool is 0, through 22, the 22nd card. All of these have already been done, and then I always do like put some sage on them, get that energy cleansed.
So these have been saged already?
All of them have.
Okay.
So you can shuffle the cards however you want to shuffle them. Now, for this particular reading, it's up to you, but usually when I'm doing a reading, like I said, for like an event or there's multiple people in the room or whatever, people don't want other people to know what their questions are.
Okay.
Or so forth. Also, my thing is too, doing readings for so long, you've come to find out that there's people that actually know how to read and people that don't and say they do, right? And to me, one of the ways, like, I don't like to go ahead and have you necessarily tell me what the question is. Reason being is that the moment if I tell you, I want to know...
There's the whole power of suggestion thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that because, yes, if I, like, put something in your head, it doesn't necessarily mean that your reading is going to be the most accurate. And you kind of want the person you're reading for to kind of interpret for themselves, right?
That's usually what I do. I have you shuffle the cards. And when you're shuffling the cards, you want to think of a question.
Okay. Oh, I was not doing that while I was shuffling. So
that's okay. We'll get to that. So, a couple things is I like people to think of a question when you're shuffling the cards. Really try to focus on one question at a time. Reason being is let's say you have multiple questions and you're shuffling the cards are going to be not very clear because there's so many questions, right? But if you have one question that you're thinking of and you're focusing on that one question, it's easier to read out the cards and it's clear, right?
Okay.
And then we can do like another reading, right?
Okay.
For the next question or whatever. Usually I say try to think of a question that's not necessarily a yes or no question, because yes or no questions can really be easy with one card, right? We're trying to get more in depth. When you shuffle the cards and you're thinking of the question, you don't have to tell me what the question is. Just know that I'm going to read the cards to you by what they are telling me, what they mean, and what they represent, right? And then you would have to interpret what that means due to your question.
Okay.
So now that the cards are shuffled, I want you to go ahead and take them and cut the deck in 3. Cutting them in 3 is really, the power of 3, the trilogy, the being able to, okay, I'm allowing you to go in and read my fortune, right? You don't want to ask questions that have to do with other people. Reason being is because you don't have the permission from that other person to tap into their energy. I think that is very similar to Reiki, I guess you could say, where, you need to have permission to do those things because otherwise it's like invasive.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like to read tarot for spiritual, like, crossing over type of things. That is something that I don't do. And we'll get into that because we just shuffle the cards and I don't want to lose on the energy on this. So go ahead and pick a card, and I want you to put it right in the middle, face down. You're going to pick another card. You're going to put it on your right side, my left, face down. Another one on the other side. Okay. Now you're going to pick a card, and you're going to put it horizontal over the middle card. You're going to pick one more card, and you're going to put it on the side over there, like on the side of the table, so it's away from all the other cards. Vertical. Perfect. All right. So, like I said, before we get in depth, keep in mind that the cards are guidance, okay? I'm going to read what each card is telling me, what they mean and they represent, and then you would interpret it due to the question that you had asked, okay? So this card represents you now, or the situation now. This card represents the past of whatever the question may be. The other card, like I had mentioned earlier, is the future. And then whatever this card is will tell me if the horizontal card is a blockage or guidance. Okay? And then we'll get into the final outcome card in a second. The card that we have is the Devil for the You Now card, okay? We are seeing that the situation right now, the Devil, and that's something that I'm going to talk about, doesn't necessarily mean something evil, and it doesn't necessarily evil, bad, mischievous, but it could also be a positive card. It could be a negative card. All cards are negative or positive, but it could be very sexual, sensual, mysterious, intriguing, type of thing. But it could also be controlling, manipulative. It could be, what is the word? Luring. When somebody is like trying to steal you away from something, what is that word? I can't think of it. Anyway.
Spencer, think of it.
So that's what the card could mean. It can mean multiple different things depending on what your question is. So, but what I'm sensing here and what I'm feeling here is that perhaps you're in a situation, or if it is a situation, where there is uncertainty, there may be complications, and somebody or something that's not very trusting or kind of like, what is the word? Did you come up with something?
Other words for luring are, well, alluring, attracting, beguiling, bewitching, captivating, charming, drawing.
All of those things. All of them. But for you, I would say that you're in a situation, or the situation now is very uncertain, confusing. It's not bad or good. It's just like not certain,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, I feel like things were not very well organized, if that makes sense with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because the past card, and I feel like I should describe what each card is because people can't see us,
Thank you.
is actually the Two of Pentacles reversed. The Two of Pentacles, I'm reading it from, if the cards are facing me, they're upright.
I was going to ask that question,
Yes.
actually.
And some people read them differently. I feel because I am the reader for you, you're not interpreting them.
Right.
I'm interpreting them. So for me, if they're facing me, they're upright. If they're reversed from me reading it, then they're, reversed. So we have the Two of Pentacles reversed. Pentacles, Two of Pentacles really means balancing, organization, a lot of things in limbo or in works. When it's reversed, it's like losing balance, losing stability, confusion, not very structured, maybe a little bit of a chaos going on. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why I had mentioned that. Now, mind you, I am going with feeling, right? What it is that I'm feeling, what I'm receiving from these cards. So that's why I chose the word of not very organized, and I don't know if that really went well with what your question was.
Yeah. So far it's making sense.
Great. Okay, so the next card we have is the future card. And the future card we have the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is upright. So that tells me that the future is very positive. Things are looking very up, very good. You're going to be feeling very happy, content, complete, just very good, just overall. The next card we have, now this could be, like I said, either the blockage or the guidance. In which case you could take it as both, right? Because if it's a blockage, it's kind of a guidance telling you, watch out for this person. This card is Seven of Swords. Can mean many things. It can mean chaos. It can mean lack of self-worth. I want to say more on the chaos side, right? On the positive side, it could mean being more aware of self, firm, standing your ground. But for this particular reading, I am seeing that there is somebody, or if I really want to say that there's somebody. If it doesn't go with your question, then a situation may occur that is not very certain of what it is that they're doing, if that makes sense with your question. They may come off to being very certain and like telling you like, yeah, this, that, and it's going to work out and it's going to be great and blah, blah, blah. And really they're just trying to win you over. I don't know if any of this is making sense to what your question is.
I can interpret it in a few different ways where,
if you're still not certain, then it might not be a person. It might be a situation.
And also, is this obstacle doesn't necessarily need to be like in an immediate future. It could be like down the road eventually. Or are you seeing it more like in my immediate future or a current obstacle?
So I'm seeing this within the next 6 months, I would say. It's not too far out in the future, but not too close either. I definitely don't see this being something in the next 3 months. Definitely further down the line than 3 months.
and you're feeling like it's more a person?
I think it may be a person. However, if it's not I don't know what your question is, but let's say that it's not a person and it's a situation, then I would say that there's a situation that's going to be very sticky, where you're going to feel like like chaos, like there's a lot of things going on and you're not really sure what to do. If that were to occur, I would say step back and really like try not to make a rash decision right away. Right? If there's a situation that occurs that they're like, no, you need to know right now, you need to make that decision right now, really like step back from that and give yourself a breather and really meditate on that. Okay. Don't let other people or that situation control the overall of what you're feeling and what you think is right.
Yeah, with the question that I thought of, honestly, it could be a situation or a person.
Okay. So with that said, that tells me that we're going to go more in depth with this reading.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the next card, which is the final outcome. Okay, so we have the Hermit. And see, this is one of those cards that I say can be very eerie.
Yeah, it's a creepy looking card.
This is one of the cards that actually would really scare me when I first started reading this deck, right? The Deviant Moon deck, they're people that are moon people, right?
Take a picture of it.
I will.
And
we'll post this.
This person is like crawled up in like a sewer kind of place. You can see a factory behind him or her, because we can't tell if it's a him or her.
It looks like it's
screaming with half covering its eye. And then there's like a dead fish or something on next to that person. I almost want to say it's a girl because the toenails are painted red, but it could be either or. With that said, I would say that the Hermit really means somebody who is really enclosed in themselves, left alone, exclusivity. It could also mean like uncertainties, fright, as you can see the card. Sometimes these cards just tell you just by the pictures, which is one of the things that I love about having different decks, right? Artists perceive things differently, and it can help you read the cards. So I would say this card is telling me what this card really means, and I would say that it would be a person in this case. And the reason why I say that is because now all the cards have people in them, right? But they're both exclusive individuals, right? People. The fact that this particular one is like scared and frightened, I would say that there is a person, and I want to say that it's somebody that is going to be like just talking a lot, just babbling and just shit coming out of their mouth. And that's what I'm feeling and sensing just because of that picture is like the mouth is wide open. There's a sword about to go through them that's being held by their toes. That is not seeming very balanced because the other leg, the foot isn't even holding it. It's like an ankle, which is really balancing on one toe, which is really like uncertainty and not very stable, right? So I would say that keep an eye out. I think you already know who this person is. I see you shaking your head like yes. So I would say just keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Does that help? Is it clear? Is it, do you want more? You want more?
Yeah.
She's like, I want more.
It's a little unclear because I can interpret it in a few different ways. I can...
So when it comes to something like this where it's unclear, I like to ask questions like, and this is, you don't have to tell me what the question is, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want either. I ask, is it work related? Is it you personal? Like you internally within yourself. Is it health related? Is it family related? Is it love related? Is it school related? Is it, like these type of things? But you don't have to tell me what the question is. Just just the genre of the
Yeah,
question.
I would say it's more related to, I guess, like my personal passions.
Okay. Then I would say that there is a lot, like I said, a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainties, and not very structured things. And then I would say a lack of maybe an insecurity or an insecure. If we're talking about a person, this could even be you, right? Of insecurities of you jumping into a situation where you know you have a lot to do, and it could any false move could jeopardize you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that seems a little clearer.
Okay. So, and then with that said, that brings the Hermit in play, where a lot of fear of missteps, right? And uncertainties. But with that said, once now this becomes a blockage of, let's say it's you, right? Of overcoming that fear, of being more secure, more certain within yourself, and really meditating on the one thing I would say, and this is what this is showing me, if it is you and this makes more sense, is grounding.
Oh, okay.
So being more grounded. Perhaps you have a lot of things in mind that's making you more airy,
Okay.
right? Where you're all over the place and not being very grounded and focused on that one specific thing. And because of that, you have so many things going on that you know you can do it and you want to do that thing, but you fear that if you do it wrong, because you're focusing on so many other things, that it might not go the way that you want it to, right?
Yeah.
So, but what I'm seeing here is that you have this. The Ace of Cups is showing me that no matter what, not no matter what, but
As long as I am able to handle the Seven of Swords, I could get the Ace of Cups.
right. Otherwise, you're going to hold yourself back,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yep. This is way more clear now.
And I don't like to ask those questions as far as genre unless it's uncertain, right? And then when I know, okay, it's about you personal, then it helps me better read. You know, if you were to say, oh, it's about school or work or health even, you know, the whole reading changes,
Yeah.
right? So it really is like how you feel, if you can interpret it yourself without me asking those questions, and then just asking those questions about the genre, I'm able to clarify things a little more.
Yeah, that definitely simplified it more, because my question was a little vague and there's moving parts and multiple components that I'm like, well, based on what you said, like I was like, it could be me, it could be, you know, there's definitely other people, it could be other situations, there's so many different factors with what my question was, but I like the ultimate outcome. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So now it is Mindy's turn.
Thank you, Sharon. I think I'm going to go with the one in the purple pouch, because when Tatiana started to take it out of the pouch, this deck, it's the one that has the pretty gilded background, and I just saw the tops of the cards and gasped. So I was like, I think that's my deck.
I love this deck.
It's beautiful, and I like the large cards too.
You know, I'm glad you do, because a lot of people don't. And I'll tell you why. Because they're really tough to shuffle.
Well,
I quite enjoy them because they're, I mean, it's just so much art and
yeah, they're beautiful.
The pattern on the cards almost looks like the reverse pattern on your shirt.
That's
oh
the
my
other
God,
thing.
it does.
Yeah, I'm wearing a shirt the pattern kind of matches, so it worked out that way.
I'm going to take a picture of the card next to your... Hold up your...
That is so cute.
That's really... Okay. Did you even think of that when you...
No, I didn't actually until just now, but
Spooky.
All right, so we're going to do the same thing. And I'm going to ask that you think of a question while you're shuffling the cards. Try to make it not a yes or no question. Make sure it's a question for yourself and not for anyone else. And when you're done, just cut the deck in 3. So you've cut the deck in 3. Now we're going to go ahead and pick some cards. Go ahead and pick your first card and put it in the middle, face down. Great.
I pull all of the cards.
Pick another one and put it towards your right, my left. Another one on your left, my right. You're going to put one horizontal in the middle of the first card. And then you're going to pick one more. You're going to put it on the side. I have to move these cards down a little because they're so big. Once again, I'm going to read the cards to you. I'm going to tell you what they mean, what they represent, and then you have to interpret it yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay? If there's any reason that it's unclear, I'll go ahead and ask you those questions again for as far as like the theme or whatever of what your question may be. So this card represents you now, or your situation now. This card represents the past. This card represents the future. And this card represents either the guidance or the blockage. And then we'll get into the final outcome card later, okay? So I have here the 3 of Hearts for the you now, and it's reversed. Now, reverse cards don't necessarily mean a negative thing, but it could mean like your situation now or the you now or what you're feeling now is either very emotional, a little chaotic, complicated. Is that sounding about right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
The past, I have number 21 of the Arcana, which is the World card, and that is upright. So I see here that the past was very clear, very certain, grounded, stable. You know, is that making sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. The future card, I have the 10 of Wands, and it's upright. So the 10 of Wands is showing me a person working labor, right, with a bunch of wands. So what it's showing me, upright is usually a more positive card. So I would say that whatever your question is, I would say that things are looking up. They're going to be, the outcome is going to be good. Maybe more work than you had expected. And in fact, if it turns out to be what you wanted, it might be more pressure, a bigger plate than you had anticipated, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. This is showing me more as, I'm going to say a guidance, opposed to a blockage. And the reason why I say that, I have the 5 of Pentacles, and this card is not upright, nor is it reversed, because it's a horizontal card, right? So it's not good or bad, but because of what the future card shows me will tell me, like I said, if it's a blockage or a guidance. There are 2 people together. There's a man that's showing her, I guess, the stars, the sun, the moon, whatever you want to say. So this to me is showing me perhaps that there is, I want to say, somebody in your life that is going to be helping you with this situation. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I want to say that perhaps it's a man. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because what's showing in the cards. Mm-hmm. I just read what the cards are showing, right? And sometimes they're pretty self-explanatory. I want to say it's somebody close to you that you trust and confide in. And the reason why I say this is because the 2 people are kind of very close together, feeling, trust, whatever. Is this making sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, great. So then we have the final outcome, which is the Ace of Wands. Ace is usually Self-explanatory. You got an ace, right? Wands is, I'm seeing, I don't want to say emotions, but emotions. A lot of excitement. It's really like clarifying that the thing that you want is going to happen. Okay. Just be aware that it might just be a little more than you had anticipated. Is it all making sense? Is it clear? Is it?
Yeah, so I'm laughing because I have the Circadian Tarot, which is a book. I've asked about this question with the Circadian Tarot deck just because it's easier to use while I'm relearning my old tarot deck. And this is kind of the same exact answer that I get every single time. Like, it'll get there, but you're going to have to work at it. And that's just really bizarre that this came out just like the answers I've been getting.
Well, and you know what? And that's the thing. Like I said before, destiny, fate. I briefly mentioned it, but I didn't really touch base on it earlier. So the cards are guidance, like I said. But there is the inevitable. I can't really say it. Inevitable.
Yes. There we go.
That regardless, it's going to occur. Whether you want it to or not. Like, we're all going to, and I don't mean to be like down and dreary, we're all going to pass away at some point, right? That's going to happen. So the fact that you're getting the same answer, different decks, different times of readings or whatever, is just clarifying that this thing that you want is, you're going to get it, but there's going to be some work involved in it. So it's just, you know what I mean? Like, and it's going to be more than you had expected. And that's what I really want to emphasize on, because I don't necessarily see there being like, it's going to be hard work.
Right.
What I see is that it's going to be more than you thought it would be.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does, actually.
And that's where I say, like, there's things that, destiny, it's destined. So somebody else, you can, like you said, like, you could go to your dad and get the same reading. You could do it yourself and get the same reading. And I'm doing it now and giving you the same reading, And so that's just saying that things are looking up for you.
The universe is like, just don't be lazy about it.
Basically, like, have you heard that saying, like, please God, let me win the lottery. Please let me win the lotto. Please let me win the lotto. And then you die and you pass away and you go to God, like, God, why didn't you let me win the lotto? And God's like, well, why didn't you buy a lotto ticket? Like, can't do it if you don't try at least a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. That's really very,
you're
very
cool.
Welcome. So what do you have any recommendations for someone who's looking to get back into using the cards and getting back to know them again?
Yes. So what I recommend is what I had mentioned when I'm learning and getting to know my deck. And you can do this even if you have a deck and you already know your deck. Because there's so many cards.
Yeah.
We have a life. We don't memorize all these cards. It can get hard, So just trying to, like, really get back into it, you stop for a while and whatever, and just to get your memory going and to really tap into it. I would say, like, what you're doing, a card a day, picking up like your book, you open up a page and you find a card. Grab that card, meditate on it, study it. I like to really put it under my pillow because I try to dream about it, and sometimes I do end up in the dream of like it's weird, like I end up in the card in my dreams, and I can visualize like everything, like I am that person. Like if there's like a card where it's like the 2 of coins in the Deviant Moon deck, right? It's a belly dancer with 2 coins. And it's like I end up being that belly dancer holding the 2 coins in my dream. And then I can see around me my surroundings and, like, who am I dancing for? What is this for? What is the meaning of this? Are these coins heavy? Are they not heavy? We don't think about those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I dream about all those things. So then it helps me better get a more well-rounded understanding of the card, the artist, the character in the card, because that's a whole different thing on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really go in depth with this whole, thing, because each tarot deck is a different artist. It can mean different things for each person. So really is getting to understand you, because that's your psyche. The way that you interpret it is within yourself and your own psyche, because the artist had a different interpretation of it when they were doing it, right?
Sure.
You're not in their mind. Tarot is really about understanding you within yourself, because you're the reader.
So do you recommend, before you actually use them, if you haven't used them in a long time, to like kind of reset them?
So 2 things here. One, if we're talking about using them for you yourself, if you feel that you need to do that, do it.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with doing it, not doing it. It's really up to you. You're using it for yourself. If you're using it for other people, I recommend reprogramming them, cleansing them, getting, I don't want to say your energy out, but getting your energy out, right?
Okay.
Mainly because maybe the last time you used the deck, you were really sad. Or depressed or angry, or whatever it may be. That was the last energy that deck had. It's locked in there. So really, just try to get them in a more neutral, positive, whatever, cleanse them for whoever it is that's going to be holding them and shuffling them and, using them for their reading, right? Now, when I'm doing big parties and there's multiple people, like events or whatever it may be, my way of programming them, I don't program them every time. I program them for that one day.
Oh, okay.
Right? That one day, right before I have this huge line of people, that's it. And the reason being is because there's multiple hands in a short period of time. And it's one reading, and it's usually 5 minutes, ready, set, go, and because it's too many people. The way that they get programmed with that specific person's energy is when they're shuffling and thinking of that question. And usually for those type of readings, people know and understand that it's short, it's quick, it's fluffy, it's let's go, move on. And that's it. But if you want a more in-depth reading, I always tell them, you can contact me, we can do the separate when there's not so much energy, because sometimes the readings are not the greatest when there's a lot of energy around.
Yeah.
Speaking of contacting you, if someone wants to get a reading done by you, where can they contact you?
Good call, Sharon.
People can definitely email me. Facebook usually is the best way, or...
And how do they find you on Facebook?
Well, my name is Tatiana Fonseca, and that's Fonseca. And it's Tatiana with one N, so it's Tatiana. And I'm in Chicago, so because there's a lot of Tatiana Fonsecas out there.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Huh.
I think I'm the one that has the dance background.
Okay.
Would be the best way to
And
describe
what's your email?
me. So it's my last name, Fonseca, Tatiana, .tf with my initials @gmail.com. For anyone who is in the area in Chicago, you can find me once a week over at King of Cups, which is a new location that just opened up in Lincoln Park. The place is amazing. It's really great. If I'm not doing tarot readings, somebody else is there. Or if I'm not doing tarot reading, I am belly dancing there. So
Nice. And this is a bar?
It's a lounge. It's a bar lounge. They made it very medieval, Renaissance-y. They have a huge night, standing outside with a chandelier. It's a really cool place.
We gotta go.
We definitely have to go.
Yeah,
wanna
and
see
I
you
think,
dance.
if I'm not mistaken, they just created a drink with my name on it.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know you've made it when you got a drink, Nate.
Two Tatianas, please.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we just want to thank you once again for coming on our
thank
show.
you.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have you back in the future.
I love being here with you guys.
Yes, and you're
Awesome.
awesome.
Good.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate you taking the time to do our readings. And I feel like, you kind of cleared some things up for me. And yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what happens in the future. How about you, Mindy?
Yeah, no, same. And I kind of want to go buy more tarot decks now.
Yes. I definitely say don't be afraid to have more than one deck, but keep a deck to yourself. Keep one deck to yourself where nobody else touches it, or, you're not doing readings for other people or whatever. Just yours.
A pure deck just for you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. I think that about does it today. And as always, thanks for getting creepy with us.